welcome to Midlife Magic, a unique channel for unique women. I'm extremely excited this week to have Pamela Lynch join us. Pamela is the creatrix of Source Code Publishing and the highly acclaimed Sacred Writing Sessions. She's been called a spiritual librarian, word whisperer, and sacred writing expert. After a 31-year career in book publishing, Pamela spent a decade immersed in intuitive coaching, the healing arts, and ancient wisdoms. She launched her own publishing company in 2018 and published 4 transformational books in her first year. I am delighted, Pamela, that you're joining us here today to talk to us about winning with writing.
Thank you, Colleen. I am pleased to be here, pleased to speak with you and your people in this group, and so excited. I love that it is about winning. And so, of course, for me, writing is my magic. Writing is how I help people win their magic and really attract themselves to the wisdom that is within them. It already exists, and we're just opening up the portal to language for that wisdom to flow through. So it's what I love doing. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Yeah, so just a couple of things that I want to relay to people is one about the spiritual librarian. So this was coined back in 2019 by someone who was doing some channeling with me and who said that my role is to help document the shift. So when I speak of a spiritual librarian, it's about helping other people to bring their wisdom through so that we can document this shift. And I see the shift in consciousness as the shift from fear to love. And so people need information and they thirst for the information that will help them to remember who they are and the gift that they have within them. And for me, that comes to guiding them into their own writing. And I came through, a lifetime of writing. I grew up with books. I ended up in book publishing, and it's just everything has led me to this point. And I remember being with a business coach, and she was, helping me to sort of find my gift and, always looking for our purpose. And she asked me about my history, and because she didn't know me at all. She knew I was a coach and I was a law of attraction life coach. That's all she knew. And she actually held up her phone and said, I know like this much of you. Tell me the whole thing. I said, well, I grew up in book publishing, and I was in book publishing for 31 years. And she almost leapt across the couch, back in the day when we could actually meet in person. She was in town for another conference, and I invited her for dinner. And she went, you cannot be in something for so long, for 30 years, and it not be present in your business. So I invite people to look at where that shows up for them. What is it that is their sort of indicator on the path to their gift? Because source will always lead us back to our path. We might wander off. I became a life coach. I became a universal laws coach. I became a dream coach. So I have like 3 certifications in coaching, which I needed in order to help people, craft their messages and write their books and be able to coach them through that process. And, so we feel like we're going on a little bit of a diversion, but it's not. There's no wasted time, because every life experience that we have is meant for us. And sometimes that's really hard to think about when what we would consider bad stuff happens to us, right?
Yes, for sure.
So, but we see it later, and in hindsight, we say, I'm so glad that happened, because it led me to here. And none of us would be in this moment in time if it hadn't been for all of the experiences that we had. Right. So I don't know if you know any of my early childhood stories, but one of the things was that my mom divorced when I was 1 year old. And so I went through this period from the age of 1 to 2, where 2 men fought over my mother. And then from 2 to 3, they were both in the Air Force. So they almost got sent home. They almost were disbarred, if that's the right word for it. And they weren't, but they did send the biological family home. And so that was my biological father, who my mother was no longer seeing. So when we came back to Canada, I had this year where I didn't have a father figure. So of course, as a little 2-3-year-old, it had to have been my fault, right? And so my heart got broken. And I kind of had that my entire life, that I was abandoned, that I had a broken heart, that nobody understood me, that I didn't fit in, all of the stuff, right? I mean, who can relate, right? So many of us have not the same story, but a similar type of a story. And I really believe that as healers, that we've had to go through really difficult and somewhat traumatic childhoods to heal and to become the person who goes through the path so that we can be the pioneers and we can bring our stories to our community, right? So being able to win with writing is being able to tell our stories and tell our stories in a way that we're no longer triggered by our stories, that we can tell them. And we know that we've healed the stories when they don't make us cry anymore, right? We can tell them with the love and the grace without any attachment to the actual story. And there's so many different ways of healing, right? I like to remind people that healing is a journey. It's not a destination. As soon as we peel back another layer, there's something else for us to see, and it's called life, right? But every single person, I believe, one is that they're creative. I have lots of clients who come to me and say, I don't know how to write. I'm a really bad writer. I am not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. I mean, I said that, a few years ago, because my sister's an artist. So she's the artist. She's the creative one. She's the one who can close her eyes and see all kinds of things. I don't see things, right? I hear things. I feel things, right? So we all receive information in our own way. And so I have clients who, say these same things, but the biggest one is I'm not creative. We are born creators. We came here to create. And I want to ask you, what's one thing that you create, Colleen?
I create crystal grids. I create energy magic.
Yeah. And so we all do, and we just don't think it's creative in the way that sort of has been the label for creativity, which is really through music or through art. Right. Writing is a creative source. It's energy, right? Words are energy. And this creativity helps us to create something, right? And so you use your creativity for crystals, crystal grids, probably understanding crystals, understanding how they all fit together, what they mean. There's this deep, rich knowledge that you have of crystals. And so when you set up a crystal grid, it's sacred, right? But you've created it and you've used your creativity to be able to lay that out in a way that is meaningful for you. And it's the same with anything that, I would love for the listeners to put in the chat what it is where they see their creativity and thinking outside the box, right? Things that they don't think are creative. We can be creative in cooking. We can be creative in the routes that we take to work. We can be creative in all different ways, right? And so I wanted to sort of touch on the fact that we're creative beings, and also that no one was born writing. No one was born a great writer. You get really good at writing by practicing, just like you get really good at whatever art, just anything that you create. You get good at learning how to play the guitar, and playing the guitar by practicing, by gymnastics, whatever you want to think about, dance, right? Art, everything requires that we do it over and over and over again, right? So, those two things are the ones that really get in the way of people writing. And so winning with writing, first of all, it allows us to open up and have a dialogue with ourselves, right? To understand who we are, what's in our way, why we want to do what we want to do. And even if you don't have any intention of writing a book, if you're in business, I would say 100% of the time that there's writing involved somewhere in your business.
Absolutely.
You've got your website to write, you've got your about page to write, you've got posts to create, you've got, all kinds of things, right? And you were in my haiku workshop that I just did. And in that, the one thing that really came through that I hadn't really thought about before, I knew it, but I hadn't really sort of thought deeply about it, is that with haikus, you only have 17 syllables. So you have a very limited number of words that you can use to create and craft a message. And we were doing them to create a mantra for the year. And the fewer words that you use, the actual harder it is to write. Because I'm sure, let me know if you can go on and on and on and on and write, right? It gets easier and easier. You can do, like, there's a tool that we use and that I use with myself and with clients is to write 3 pages. And you just write. You fill up 3 pages and then you go, wow, I just wrote 3 pages. Right. And it's quite extraordinary. Some of the stuff that's written down, but you could probably go and circle the stuff that's good. Right. It's like our first draft of a book can be nonsense. What matters is that you actually sat down and you wrote. And then you get it to be more concise, to be precise, and to choose the words more intently and deliberately. And when we do that, we are writing something that is meaningful. And so for me, that's the whole thing about writing is there's enough information out there that doesn't have any depth to it. We want it to be meaningful. So in order to win with writing, we need to be really thoughtful about what we're writing as the end result of the writing. First page, just let it all come out. And then go back and intentionally, what is that one idea that you want to portray? One idea. And a book is one idea. A chapter is one idea about that one idea. Right? And we think we need to fit all of this stuff in. If you have all of that stuff to fit in, you probably have 10 books. And I have clients who have 10 books that they want to write, and it's getting centered on really knowing your why of why you're writing this particular book, why you're writing this particular post. What meaning are you bringing to it? And when you do that, you will have a winning piece of an article, a blog, whatever that is.
So it's like spokes in a wheel. The wheel is the idea and the chapters are the spokes.
Yeah. Yeah. And they all relate to that main idea.
Wow.
We need to get really clear about what our one idea is. And it doesn't matter what we're writing, whether it's a blog post our homepage for our website, our about page. Like that's probably the hardest one is writing about ourselves, right? And so it is one of the things that I offer people is that you just give me the details, I will write your about page, okay? Right? Because we have a hard time writing. I bet I haven't updated my about page on my website for quite a while. I could probably use a rewrite.
Probably me too.
We want to get, like I've written enough that like I've written a ton of stuff, right? Like I've filled journals and I write every single day. And for me, I've become a pretty good writer. Like, I've had lots of compliments about my writing, and I only got there by writing and writing and writing and writing. And I probably wrote my about page like 3 years ago. So I'll write that on my list of things to do.
And I'll put you on my list.
I'd be happy to do that. It's so much easier for someone like myself to take sort of the raw information, and then that's why they have ghostwriters, right?
Right.
Here's all the information, take it away and write something about it, right? Like that's a real job. It's for people to be ghostwriters. And so it's writing for me is really sacred. And, you've been in my programs where I've actually taken you into the portal of language. And it's so fascinating, right? To understand what our gifts are and then actually tap into them. And every single person on the planet has a gift. Sometimes we just haven't unraveled enough of ourselves and connected with ourselves to see what our gift is, because it's so obvious to other people. It's that thing that you're so good at that you think, well, can't everybody write? Can't everybody do crystal grids? Right? There's these things that are so innately ours. Right? Nobody's going to do crystal grids the way you do crystal grids. Nobody's going to write the way that I write. Right? So really being able to use that as kind of the first step in writing, right, is to be able to know why you want to do what you're doing, because that will uncover a little piece of the gift that is within you. That's, I'd love to know too, the number of people in this group, like sharing if you've really uncovered your gift, if you know why you're here. Right? I think it was Albert Einstein, right? There's two days. I forget that I've said the saying so many times, but there's 2 important days of your life: the day you're born and the day you find out why.
Right.
Somebody will correct me if I have that wrong or the author wrong. Oh, you know what? It was Mark Twain. I think it was Mark Twain. Yeah. So knowing why we're here, and it's got little to do with our life purpose. Like, we can have so many different purposes, right? I have a purpose with my granddaughter. I have a purpose with my sons. I have a purpose in my relationship. I have I'm purpose in my business. And when we're able to sort of tap into that, when it's knowing why we're doing what we're doing, that's what's important, right? What are you passionate about? What are you curious about? Right? Stephen Kotler says the intersection between those 2 things, what you're curious about and what you're passionate about, is your purpose. And then bringing that into your business so that you can actually have it become your contribution that you make to the world. And so I invite people to really consider this for themselves and to journal about it. Just write about what this means. And then find the nuggets in there. Right? It's one of the ways that I see of being able to win with writing, is that we get to know ourselves better. And understanding ourselves is kind of challenging, right? We want to understand other people. We will never understand other people. Never. Our job is to understand us. We have an
Maybe
inkling about
messy and
what's going
scary.
on. Yeah, right? We can be in relationship with someone for 20 years. And I don't know about you, but I was married for 20 years and, 10 of those were not great. I did not see the behavior that happened afterwards ever in my relationship. I didn't even know the person was capable of what happened after. Never know anybody. We don't know anybody, right? And we barely know ourselves. And so that's one of the tools that I like to share with people, and how they can get to know themselves better is through journaling and through writing.
So can I ask a question?
I was just going to say, do you have any questions?
I do. So how does what you're talking about in the journaling how does that relate to what I've heard of as automatic writing?
So the 3 pages, when you sit down and you decide you're going to write 3 pages, that's sort of the intention that you have. That becomes automatic writing when you you get out of your head, right? So quite often we're in our head while we're writing. It's like, what should I be, right? Keyword should, what should I be writing about? A better question is, what does my higher self want me to reveal, or what does my higher self want me to write? And then automatic writing is when you are opening up a channel to your stream of consciousness, right? That's what I do in the sacred writing sessions. Is I actually sit in and hold. I sit. It looks like it's meditation, but I'm actually activating energy. I'm holding space for people. We do not share any words, right? They come into a Zoom call. I open up the portal of language, and they write, and I sit for an hour. And I'm activating that energy for them so I'm unlocking access to their stream of consciousness. So some of my clients are channelers, so they're already good at being able to open up the channel to have information come through, right? And so but it becomes clearer and faster. It's a beautiful flow that happens because we've invited in source energy, we've invited in the quantum field, and we've invited in the portal of language for words to flow through for people. And so when they do that, they are writing automatically, right? So it's automatic writing, right? So that just means you're in your heart, you're accessing your stream of consciousness when you're doing that.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. And this is my gift. So, it's like today I just had a session, and sometimes it makes me cry because I recognize, like, it makes me tear up just because it's just, I finished my call like 55 minutes ago. And sometimes the tears come because I realize how grateful I am that I opened myself up to doing that process, because I'm a conduit, right? Just as we are when we're healing, when we're doing our work out in the world, we have said yes, and we open ourselves up to do what it is that we've came here to do, honestly. And I believe we all came here this particular time on the planet. We are here to help shift the consciousness to love. And we have all different words for it. And there's definitely the pioneers, right? So people who are in the healing, coaching, mentoring, spiritual world, we've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of inner work. We've been called to heal ourselves. And I think some of the greatest spiritual leaders present right now on the planet have had really traumatic childhoods. We could go down a whole other path with our past lives. We've had stuff happen, and we've had to heal it, and we've gone first, and we've gone deep. And now it's for us to open up and share our messages with the world. And, we can use that through video, but I know that the best videos are ones that are pre-planned, which invite in writing. So our messages for me, they need to be written. I'm going to say they need to be written, right? People, they need our information. They need our knowledge and our wisdom. And because there's lots of information out there.
Excessively so.
But people will hear when the message is authentic because we're spiritual beings. And our greatest gift is this silver lining that runs through all of us. And we have these bodies that are transmitters of information, right? So information in the quantum field, knowledge in the quantum field comes through. It's all data. It's all, and it's accessible to us for our stream of consciousness. What I channel is not the same as what you're intended to channel. It's like we each have our piece of the puzzle, right? My piece is, it's extraordinary in its own right. It has all of these different parts to it and this image, but it fits in the whole thing. And you have a piece of your puzzle. And when we can see that everybody has a piece of the puzzle, it's all through consciousness. Right?
Amazing.
Can't BS my way to my piece of the puzzle. I tried it. It doesn't work. Right? I was like, oh, I'm going to be a law of attraction coach. Yeah, no, that was for me to heal.
That was one step towards your piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. So it's fun when we get to land into our gift and to help others see their gift.
That's amazing. Yes, very amazing. So what do you got on the go, Pamela?
I have one of my free sessions right now is called Accountability, a Gift for Writers. And it's over in my business group, and it's also on my website, so you can access it in both of those places. My business page is Source Code Publishing, and I'm most easily found through my website, which is PamelaLynch.com. And the accountability sessions are up there. So I'm doing that every Thursday in the month of February. So
very nice.
Yeah. So it's helping people to just really understand why accountability matters, why writing matters, right? And why being able to access the portal of language matters.
Wow. This is amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. I am so grateful for you opening up your space for me to come in and visit with you and join this group.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to be here today. I really, really appreciate it. And we might look at part 2 someday soon.
We'll see. Yeah, I would be honored to come back and speak with you again. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Pamela. And everybody, remember, you can find Pamela at PamelaLynch.com. And she's got accountability writing going on for the month of February. Take care and see you next week. Thanks, Pamela.